You are not calm, you're avoiding power.
Most people think their emotions make them human. They don't realize emotions are what make them manageable. The moment you react, you give away leverage. And most people react constantly. Calm people aren't nicer. They're just harder to control. This audiobook explains why reacting eventually stops making sense. Not morally. Structurally. Listen carefully. You were praised for it. You're calm. Your ability to stay level when others couldn't. You're restrained in moments when emotion would have been easier. They told you it was maturity. They told you it was strength. They told you it made you reliable, safe, trustworthy. And you believed them. You built an identity around it. You became the person who doesn't react, who doesn't escalate, who absorbs tension without returning it. But somewhere along the way you noticed something. The people who got louder got more. The people who pushed got through. The people who didn't stay calm didn't stay invisible. And you did. You stayed calm and you stayed small. Not because you wanted to, because you learned to. This is not about anger management. This is not about emotional regulation. This is about what you gave up when you learned to be calm. What you lost access to. What you were trained to suppress in exchange for approval. Calm is not what you think it is. It is not peace. It is not control. It is not strength. It is a response. A survival pattern. A way to stay safe by staying silent. And it has cost you more than you realize. This book will not teach you how to be calmer. It will show you why being calm has kept you powerless. Why it has kept you out of rooms you deserve to be in. Why it has kept you from occupying the space your presence should command. You are not calm. You are avoiding power. And it starts earlier than you think.
Part 1. How calm became a cage. Chapter 1. Calm was never neutral.
You were not born calm. No child is. Children scream when they want something. They cry when they're hurt. They laugh too loud. They move without thinking. They demand attention without apology. They are not concerned with how they are perceived. They are not worried about disruption. They express without filter. And then something happens. They are corrected, told to quiet down, told to stop crying, told that their reaction is too much, that their volume is inappropriate, that their emotion is inconvenient. And slowly they learn. Expression has consequences. Loudness creates friction. Reaction draws punishment. So they adjust. They lower their voice. They swallow their tears. They shrink their presence. And adults praise this. They call it growing up. They call it learning self-control. They call it becoming mature. But it is not maturity. It is suppression. It is the removal of natural response in favor of acceptable behavior. And calm is the result. Picture this. You are 7 years old. You are excited about something. A toy. A game. A story you want to tell. You run into the room where the adults are talking. You interrupt. You speak fast and loud because the excitement is too big to contain. And someone stops you. Not now. We're talking. Use your inside voice. Wait your turn. The excitement drains. You step back. You wait. And by the time it's your turn, the moment has passed. The energy is gone. What you wanted to say doesn't feel important anymore. So you stay quiet. And next time you feel that same excitement, you remember. You remember the look, the tone, the interruption of your interruption. And you don't run into the room. You wait. You measure. You ask yourself if what you have to say is worth the risk of being too much. Most of the time you decide it isn't. This is where calm begins. Not as a choice. As a conclusion. A recognition that expression is expensive. That visibility comes with cost. That the safest way to exist is to not disrupt. And this doesn't just happen once. It happens over and over. In small moments that don't feel significant at the time. You cry and you're told to stop. You laugh and you're told it's too loud. You argue and you're told not to talk back. You complain and you're told to be grateful. Each correction is a lesson. Each redirection a reinforcement. You are learning what is acceptable, what gets approval, what keeps you safe. And calm becomes currency. It is what you trade for stability, for peace in the house, for being called the easy child, the one who doesn't cause problems, the one who doesn't need attention, the one who can be counted on. And it works. You do become easier. You do cause fewer problems. You do get praised for your composure. But you also become something else. Smaller, quieter, less visible. And no one tells you that this is what calm costs. They tell you calm is good. They tell you calm is mature. They tell you calm is what strong people do. But they don't tell you what calm requires. The constant monitoring of your own reactions. The suppression of instinct. The calculation before every expression. The internal negotiation about whether what you feel is allowed to be shown. This is not neutrality. This is management. And it is exhausting. But you don't realize it yet. Because calm has become your identity. It is how people know you. How you know yourself. And you have built your life around it. At work you are the one who doesn't get rattled. Who stays level when others panic. Who absorbs chaos without reflecting it back. And this makes you valuable. Reliable. But not powerful. Because calm people are not the ones who set the tone. They are the ones who absorb it. At home you are the one who doesn't escalate. Who lets things go. Who doesn't need to win the argument. And this makes you easy to live with. Low maintenance. But not prioritized. Because calm people don't demand attention. They wait for it. And often they wait too long. In friendships you are the listener. The one who doesn't dominate conversation. Who doesn't need the spotlight. Who is fine being in the background. And this makes you safe. Comfortable to be around. But not memorable. Because calm people don't take up space. They leave it for others. And none of this feels wrong. Not at first. Because you were trained to see calm as good. As the right way to be. As the thing that separates you from people who are too much. Too emotional. Too reactive. Too loud. But calm was never neutral. It was always a transaction. A trade. Your presence for their comfort. Your power for their approval. Your voice for their peace. And the payment comes later. In the moments when you needed to be heard and couldn't speak. In the opportunities that went to people who were less qualified but more visible. In the relationships where you became the backdrop instead of the focus. In the quiet resentment that builds when you realize being calm didn't protect you. It erased you. And you don't know how to undo it. Because calm is not just behavior. It is architecture. It is how you built yourself. How you learned to exist in the world. How you trained yourself to survive. And survival patterns don't release easily. They deepen. They become automatic. They become you. So you stay calm. Not because you want to. Because you don't know how not to. Because the cost of not being calm feels too high. Because you learned early that expression is dangerous. That visibility invites correction. That the safest way to move through the world is to not disturb it. And this is where it starts. Not with a decision. With a series of small corrections that taught you to be less. To want less. To take up less. To be calm. But calm is not what they told you it was. It is not strength. It is not control. It is not maturity. It is trained silence. And it will cost you more than you realize.
Chapter 2. Calm is how you learn to stay.
Calm didn't just make you easier. It made you safer. Not safer in the world. Safer to keep. Because calm people don't threaten departure. They don't create ultimatums. They don't force decisions. They stay. And staying became your strategy. It became how you secured connection. How you avoided rejection. How you made yourself indispensable by being undemanding. But staying is not the same as being chosen. And calm is not the same as being valued. It is the opposite. Calm is what you perform when you are afraid of what happens if you don't. When you believe that your presence is conditional. That if you push too hard you will be replaced. That if you ask for too much you will be left. So you ask for less. You accept less. You become less. Not because you are less. Because you learned that being more comes with risk. And you couldn't afford the risk. Picture this. You are in a relationship. Not romantic necessarily. It could be with a parent, a friend, a boss, someone whose presence in your life feels necessary. And something happens. Something small. A comment that stings. A promise that gets broken. A moment where you are overlooked. And you feel something. Not anger exactly. Hurt. Frustration. A pull toward reaction. But you don't react. You pause. You measure. You ask yourself what will happen if you say something. If you express what you feel. If you push back. And the answer is always the same. Conflict. Tension. The possibility that they will be upset. The possibility that this will become a bigger problem than it needs to be. The possibility that if you make this difficult, you will be the difficult one. So you swallow it. You tell yourself it's not that important. That it's not worth the fight. That being calm is better than being right. And you stay. You stay calm, and you stay present, and you stay available. And they don't notice. They don't see the moment you swallowed. They don't see the decision you made to suppress instead of express. They don't see the cost. Because calm is invisible. It is the absence of disruption, the absence of demand, the absence of you. And this becomes a pattern, not just once, over and over, in small moments that accumulate into years. You don't speak up in meetings because you don't want to seem confrontational. You don't ask for a raise because you don't want to seem entitled. You don't set boundaries with family because you don't want to seem difficult. You don't tell your partner what you need because you don't want to seem needy. You stay calm. You stay quiet. You stay small. And you tell yourself this is strength. This is maturity. This is not letting things get to you. But it is getting to you. It is accumulating. Not as anger, as absence. A slow disappearance of your own presence in your own life. Because calm people don't take up space. They leave it. They make room. They step back. And they do this because somewhere along the way they learned that taking up space is risky. That demanding attention invites rejection. That the safest way to be kept is to be easy. Undemanding. Not too much. And this works. For a while, people do keep you. They do rely on you. They do appreciate your calm. But they don't prioritize you. They don't fight for you. They don't rearrange their lives to accommodate you. Because you never asked them to. Because you made it clear that you don't need that. That you're fine. That you're calm. And calm people get what's left over. They get the time that isn't already spoken for. The attention that isn't already claimed. The energy that hasn't been spent elsewhere. And you accept this. Not because you want to. Because you're afraid of what happens if you don't. You're afraid that if you ask for more, you'll get nothing. That if you create friction, you'll be replaced. That if you stop being calm, you'll stop being wanted. So you stay calm. And you stay in relationships that don't prioritize you. You stay in jobs that don't promote you. You stay in friendships that don't reciprocate. You stay because staying is what calm people do. And leaving would require something you don't have access to. Disruption. Assertion. The willingness to make someone uncomfortable. The willingness to risk being too much. Because calm is how you learn to be just enough. Just enough to keep. Not enough to lose. Not enough to be fought for. Just enough to stay. And staying feels like safety. It feels like stability. It feels like proof that you're doing it right. But it's not safety. It's tolerance. You're not being chosen. You're being kept. Because you don't require effort. Because you don't create problems. Because you're calm. And this is where calm becomes a cage. Not because it traps you in one place. Because it traps you in one mode. The mode of not disrupting. Of not demanding. Of not being inconvenient. And this mode slowly erases you. Not all at once. In increments. Each time you swallow a reaction. Each time you accept less than you want. Each time you choose calm over conflict. You lose a little more of yourself. A little more of your presence. A little more of your power. And you don't notice. Not immediately. Because calm is praised. Calm is rewarded. Calm is what good people do. But calm people are not powerful. They are accommodating. They are flexible. They are easy. And easy people don't get priority. They get leftovers. They get what remains after everyone else has taken what they want. And you tell yourself this is fine. That you don't need more. That wanting more would be greedy. Selfish. Too much. So you stay calm. You stay quiet. You stay grateful for what you have. And you ignore the part of you that knows this isn't enough. The part that feels the absence. The part that wonders why other people get more without asking while you get less despite trying. The part that is tired. Not from doing too much. From suppressing too much. From managing your own reactions so constantly that you've forgotten what it feels like to just respond. To just feel. To just be. Without calculation. Without measurement. Without the constant internal negotiation about whether what you feel is allowed to be expressed. This is what calm costs. Not peace. Presence. Not control. Connection. Not strength. Self. And the cost keeps accumulating. Every time you stay when you want to leave. Every time you're quiet when you want to speak. Every time you accept when you want to refuse. You are trading yourself for stability. Your voice for safety. Your power for acceptance. And this trade is not neutral. It is not sustainable. Because staying calm does not keep you safe. It keeps you available. It keeps you compliant. It keeps you small. And small people don't get chosen. They get used. Not maliciously. Not intentionally. but consistently. Because calm people signal that they don't need more, that they're fine with less, that they won't push, won't demand, won't leave. And people believe them. Why wouldn't they? You've been performing it for years, showing them that you're easy, that you're fine, that you're calm. And now you're stuck. Not in a place, in a pattern that erases you slowly, that keeps you present but not prioritized.
Chapter 3, The Illusion of Control.
You tell yourself you're in control, that your calm is a choice, that you're regulating your emotions, managing your reactions, staying grounded when others lose themselves. And this feels powerful. It feels like mastery, like you've developed something most people haven't. The ability to stay steady, to not be controlled by feeling, to rise above reaction. But this is not control. This is suppression. And the difference matters. Control implies agency, choice, the ability to access a range of responses and select the appropriate one. Suppression is the elimination of range, the narrowing of available responses down to one. Calm. Not because calm is always appropriate, because it's the only option you've given yourself. And you call this control because control sounds better than what it actually is. Fear. Fear of what happens if you're not calm. Fear of what you might do if you let yourself feel fully. Fear of who you might become if you stopped managing every internal response before it reaches the surface. So you manage. Constantly. Automatically. So automatically that you don't even realize you're doing it anymore. It has become reflex. Someone says something that bothers you, and before the feeling fully forms, you've already contained it, neutralized it, replaced it with calm. And you think this is strength. But it's not strength. It's preemptive shutdown. It's the immediate suppression of any response that might create friction. And this takes energy, more energy than you realize. Because suppression is not passive. It is active. It is constant effort disguised as ease. Picture this. You're in a meeting. Someone takes credit for your idea. Not explicitly. They don't say it was theirs. But they present it in a way that makes it seem like it came from them. And you feel something. A spike. Not rage, but irritation. Indignation, the impulse to correct, to say something, to reclaim what's yours. And immediately you suppress it. Before the feeling fully arrives, you've already decided it's not worth it. That correcting them would seem petty. That it's better to let it go. That staying calm is more important than being right. So you do. You stay calm. You stay quiet. And the meeting continues. But the feeling doesn't disappear. It just moves. Deeper. Into your body. Into the tension in your jaw. The tightness in your chest, the exhaustion that you can't explain because you didn't do anything. You just sat there, calm. But calm is not nothing. Calm is the suppression of something. And suppression has a cost, a physical cost. Your nervous system doesn't distinguish between calm and suppression. It registers suppression as threat, as danger, as something that needs to be managed. So it stays activated, vigilant, ready, waiting for the next moment you'll need to suppress. And there is always a next moment, because you've trained yourself to suppress constantly, not just in moments of conflict. In every moment, you suppress excitement because it might be too much. You suppress disappointment because it might seem ungrateful. You suppress frustration because it might seem weak. You suppress joy because it might be inappropriate. You suppress everything that isn't calm. And you do this so reflexively that you don't notice the cost anymore. The fatigue, the flatness, the sense that you're always slightly removed from your own experience, watching it instead of living it, managing it instead of feeling it. And you tell yourself this is maturity. This is emotional intelligence. This is what it means to be in control. But control would mean you can choose, that you can access anger when it's appropriate, that you can access joy when it's warranted, that you can access the full range of human response and select what fits the moment. Suppression means you can't. You can only access one thing, calm. And calm is not always appropriate. Sometimes anger is appropriate. Sometimes loudness is appropriate. Sometimes disruption is appropriate. But you can't access those. Not anymore. Because you've spent years training them out, eliminating them, replacing them with calm. And now calm is all you have. It's not a choice. It's a default, a reflex, a cage. And the cage gets smaller over time. Because suppression doesn't stay in one area. It spreads. You start by suppressing anger, and you end up suppressing everything. Not intentionally, automatically, because suppression is not selective. It is blunt. It shuts down feeling. All feeling, not just the ones you don't want. And this is why calm people often feel numb. Not sad, not angry, just flat, like they're moving through life at a distance. Present but not engaged. There but not alive. And they don't understand why. Because they're doing everything right. They're staying calm. They're not causing problems. They're not being too much. But they're also not being enough. Not enough of themselves. Not enough presence. Not enough power. Because power requires access to the full range. It requires the ability to be loud when necessary. To be disruptive when appropriate. To take up space without apology. And calm people can't do that. Not because they don't want to. Because they don't know how. Because they've suppressed it for so long that they've lost access to it. And they tell themselves they don't need it. That calm is better. That calm is control. But it's not control. It's the illusion of control. The belief that if you can suppress your own reactions, you can control outcomes. That if you can stay calm, you can keep things stable. That if you can manage yourself, you can manage the world. But you can't. You can only manage yourself. And managing yourself this tightly doesn't create stability. It creates rigidity. It creates a version of you that can't adapt, that can't respond, that can only stay calm. And calm is not always the right response. Sometimes the right response is anger. Sometimes the right response is volume. Sometimes the right response is to disrupt everything and force a change. But you can't do that because you've trained yourself out of it. You've narrowed your range down to one setting, one mode, one option, calm. And you call this control because you don't know what else to call it. Because admitting its suppression would mean admitting you're not as strong as you thought. That your calm is not mastery. That your composure is not power. That what you've been doing for years is not regulation. It's erasure. Slow, constant, exhausting, erasure. And you're tired. Not from doing too much. From feeling too little. From suppressing so constantly that you've forgotten what it's like to just respond without thinking. To just feel without managing. To just exist without performing calm. And you don't know how to stop. Because stopping would mean losing control. Or what you think is control. What you've been calling control. What you've built your identity around. But it was never control. It was suppression dressed up as virtue. And suppression doesn't protect you. It empties you. Slowly. Silently. Until there's nothing left but the performance. The calm. The control. The illusion. Visible but not seen. There but not chosen. And you don't know how to break it. Because breaking it would require the opposite of calm. It would require disruption. And disruption is exactly what you've been trained to avoid.
Part 2, The Cost of Being Easy. Chapter 4, Calm is Often Fear in Disguise.
You think you choose calm. You think it's a decision you make in the moment. A conscious selection of composure over chaos. But that's not what's happening. What's happening is faster than thought. It's automatic. Reflexive. A response that bypasses choice entirely. And the response is not calm. It's freeze. Not the kind of freeze where you can't move. The kind where you can't react. Where something happens and your system shuts down the response before it forms. Before you feel it. Before you know what you would have done if you'd let yourself. This is not composure. This is fear. Fear dressed up as maturity. Fear performing as strength. Fear that has learned to look like calm because calm is safer than what you're actually feeling. And you don't recognize it as fear. Because fear is supposed to look different. Fear is supposed to be obvious. Panic, trembling, flight. But fear has other forms. Quieter forms. Forms that don't look like fear at all. And calm is one of them. Calm is what happens when your system decides that the safest response is no response. When reacting feels more dangerous than suppressing. When expression carries more risk than silence. So you freeze. Not your body. Your reaction. And you call this calm because calm sounds intentional. Calm sounds like you're in control. But you're not in control. You're in shutdown. And shutdown is not the same as regulation. Regulation means you feel something and you manage it. You experience the full force of the emotion and you decide how to express it. You have options. You have range. You choose calm because it's appropriate, not because it's the only thing you can access. Shutdown means you don't feel it at all, or you feel it for a split second before it gets cut off, neutralized, replaced with nothing, with calm. And you think this is good. You think this means you're not controlled by emotion. But you are controlled, not by the emotion, by the fear of it, by what might happen if you let yourself feel fully, if you let yourself respond without filtering, if you allowed your system to do what it wants to do instead of what you've trained it to do. So you don't. You cut it off. Every time. Automatically. Before you even know what you're cutting off. Picture this. Someone criticizes you. Not harshly, but publicly. In front of people whose opinion matters. And for a fraction of a second, you feel something sharp. Heat. Defensiveness. The urge to correct them. To push back. To say that's not accurate. That's not fair. And then it's gone. Not because you decided to let it go. Because your system killed it. Immediately. Reflexively. Before it could become visible. Before it could become a problem. And you stay calm. You nod. You say something neutral. You absorb the criticism without reaction. And people see this as maturity. As professionalism. As emotional intelligence. But it's not intelligence. It's fear. Fear that if you reacted, you'd be seen as defensive. As weak. As unable to handle feedback. So you handle it. You stay calm. And inside something tightens. Not anger. Not hurt. Just tightness. Tension that has nowhere to go because you didn't let it move. You stopped it. And the tension stays. In your jaw. In your shoulders. In your chest. In the exhaustion that arrives later for no reason you can name. Because you didn't do anything. You just sat there. Calm. But calm is not nothing. Calm is the suppression of something. And suppression leaves residue. Physical residue. Your body doesn't forget what you don't let yourself feel. It stores it. In muscle tension. In shallow breathing. In the constant low-level activation of a nervous system that never fully relaxes because it's always waiting for the next moment it will need to shut you down. And there is always a next moment. Because you've trained yourself to suppress constantly. Not just in crisis. In every interaction. You suppress irritation when someone interrupts you. You suppress frustration when plans change without warning. You suppress disappointment when promises don't materialize. You suppress excitement when something good happens because showing too much enthusiasm might seem unprofessional. You suppress everything. And you do it so automatically that you don't realize how much energy it takes. How much effort goes into maintaining calm. Into keeping everything smooth. Into making sure nothing you feel becomes visible. This is not ease. This is constant management. Constant vigilance. Constant suppression. And your body knows. Even if you don't. Your body knows it's not safe to feel. That feeling is dangerous. That the safest thing to do is stay calm. Stay quiet. Stay frozen. And freeze is a survival response. Not a choice. It's what mammals do when fight or flight aren't options. When moving would draw attention. When reacting would create danger. So they freeze. They become still. They become calm. And this works. In the wild. When the threat is external. When staying still keeps you invisible, keeps you safe. But your threats are not external. They're social. They're relational. They're the possibility of rejection, of judgment, of being seen as too much. And for those threats, freeze doesn't keep you safe. It keeps you small. It keeps you compliant. It keeps you from taking up space, from using your voice, from exerting influence. Because frozen people don't influence. They accommodate. They adapt. They become whatever shape the room requires. And they call this flexibility. They call this emotional intelligence. They call this calm. But it's not calm. It's fear that has learned to perform as virtue. Fear that has convinced you it's strength. Fear that has become so automatic you don't recognize it anymore. You just know you're tired. You just know something feels wrong. You just know that being calm doesn't feel as good as it's supposed to. That it doesn't create the outcomes you expected. That staying composed hasn't made you powerful. It's made you invisible. And you don't understand why. Because you're doing everything right. You're not reactive. You're not emotional. You're not difficult. You're calm. But calm is not what they told you it was. It's not control. It's the absence of control. It's the elimination of choice. It's fear that has narrowed your range down to one option. One response. One mode. And that mode is costing you. Not in ways you can measure immediately. But in accumulation. Every time you freeze instead of respond. Every time you suppress instead of express. Every time you stay calm when what you actually feel is anger, frustration, hurt, indignation. You lose a little more access, a little more range, a little more of yourself. And you don't notice. Not at first. Because the loss is gradual. Because calm feels like the right thing. Because everyone praises it. But the praise is not for you. It's for your manageability, your predictability, your willingness to absorb without reflecting, to take without giving back, to stay calm no matter what. And calm people are easy. Easy to work with. Easy to live with. Easy to ignore. Because they don't push. They don't demand. They don't disrupt. They freeze. And call it strength. And the freezing gets deeper. More automatic. More total. Until you can't remember what it felt like to just react. To just feel something and let it move through you without stopping it. Without managing it. Without turning it into calm. And you're exhausted. Not from doing too much. From feeling too little. From suppressing so constantly that your body never gets to discharge. Never gets to release. Never gets to complete the response it started. So the energy stays. Locked. Frozen. Waiting. And you walk around carrying all of it. Every suppressed reaction. Every swallowed response. Every moment you stayed calm when you wanted to scream. It's all still there. In your body. In the tension you can't explain. In the exhaustion that sleep doesn't fix. In the flatness that makes everything feel the same. Not good. Not bad. Just flat. And you tell yourself this is maturity. This is what it means to be an adult. To not be controlled by feeling. But you are controlled. Not by feeling. By the fear of it. By what might happen if you let yourself feel fully. If you let yourself respond without editing. If you stop being calm. And the fear is bigger than you realize. Because calm is not just behavior. It's identity. It's who you are. It's how people know you. How you know yourself. And if you're not calm, then who are you? What are you? And the answer terrifies you. So you stay calm. Not because you want to. Because you're afraid of what happens if you don't. Afraid you'll be too much. Afraid you'll lose control. Afraid you'll become someone you don't recognize. So you freeze. And you call it calm. And you call it strength. And you call it control. But it's none of those things. It's fear. And fear is running your life. Quietly. Invisibly. Perfectly disguised as composure.
Chapter 5. Why calm people are passed over.
You do good work. You show up. You deliver. You don't create problems. You don't need hand-holding. You don't complain. And you expect this to matter. You expect it to be noticed. You expect that doing everything right will eventually result in recognition, in promotion, in being chosen. But it doesn't. Other people get chosen. People who are louder, less qualified, more disruptive. People who seem to do less, but get more. And you don't understand why. Because you're doing everything they told you to do. You're reliable. You're steady. You're calm. And calm people should be valued. Should be promoted. Should be given more responsibility. More authority. More power. But they're not. They're passed over. Not because they're not good. Because they're not visible. And visibility is not about competence. It's about presence. About taking up space. About making people notice you even when they're not looking. And calm people don't do that. They do the opposite. They make themselves easy to overlook. Easy to forget. Easy to assume are fine without checking. Because calm people don't signal need. They don't signal ambition. They don't signal that they want more. They signal that they're fine with what they have. That they don't need attention. That they'll keep doing good work regardless of whether anyone notices. And people believe them. Why wouldn't they? You've been showing them this for years. Never pushing. Never demanding. Never making yourself inconvenient. So they give the promotion to someone else. Someone who asked for it. Someone who made it clear they wanted it. Someone who was willing to be a little bit difficult to get it. And you're hurt. You're confused. Because you did everything right. You worked harder. You were more reliable. You caused fewer problems. And it didn't matter. Because calm people are not memorable. They're predictable. And predictability feels like safety. Like stability. Like something you don't need to worry about. So people don't worry about you. They don't check on you. They don't wonder if you're happy. If you're satisfied. If you're thinking about leaving. Because you've shown them you're not. You've shown them you're calm. And calm people stay. They don't leave. They don't threaten. They don't create urgency. So there's no urgency to promote you. No urgency to give you more. No urgency to prioritize you. Because you're fine. You're always fine. Picture this. You're in a meeting. Leadership is discussing who should lead the new project. Your name doesn't come up. Not because you're not capable. Because you're not present. Not physically. You're in the room. But you're not taking up space in it. You're sitting quietly. Listening. Not interrupting. Not inserting yourself. Not making sure people remember you're there. And someone else does. Someone who speaks up. Who offers an idea. Who makes themselves central to the conversation. Not because their idea is better. Because they made sure it was heard. And later that person gets the project. And you don't. And when you ask why, you're told you're doing great where you are. That they need someone steady in your current role. That you're too valuable to move. And this sounds like praise. But it's not praise. It's dismissal. It's being told that you're calm makes you useful where you are. But not powerful enough to be somewhere else. Not visible enough to be considered for more. And you accept this. Because pushing back would seem entitled. Ungrateful. Not calm. So you stay calm. You stay in your role. And you watch other people move past you. People who are less competent, but more willing to make noise. To take up space. To be visible even when it's uncomfortable. And you resent them. Not openly. Quietly. You resent that they get more for doing less. That they get noticed for being loud while you get ignored for being good. That the system rewards disruption over reliability. Visibility over competence. Presence over performance. But the system isn't broken. It's just not designed for calm people. It's designed for people who make themselves impossible to ignore. Who take up space without asking. Who signal their value loudly and repeatedly. And calm people don't do that. They wait to be noticed. They wait to be chosen. They wait for their work to speak for itself. But work doesn't speak. People speak. And calm people don't speak loudly enough. They don't interrupt. They don't self-promote. They don't make sure everyone in the room knows what they've done. They assume it's obvious. That good work is self-evident. That people are paying attention. But people are not paying attention. Not to you. Because you don't make them. You don't demand attention. You don't create presence. You stay calm. And calm is forgettable. Not because it's bad. Because it's not disruptive. It doesn't create friction. It doesn't force people to engage. It allows them to move past you without effort. And they do. Over and over. Not maliciously. Just naturally. Because you've made it easy. You've made yourself easy to pass over. Easy to deprioritize. Easy to forget. And this doesn't just happen at work. It happens everywhere. In social groups, you're the person people like. But not the person they call first. Not the person they fight to include. Not the person whose absence changes the dynamic. You're the steady one. The reliable one. The one who doesn't cause drama. And this makes you safe. Comfortable. Easy to have around. But not central. Not necessary. Not irreplaceable. In relationships, you're the partner who doesn't create problems. Who doesn't need reassurance. Who doesn't demand attention. And this makes you easy to be with. Low maintenance. But not prioritized. Not pursued. Not fought for. Because you don't signal that you need to be. You signal that you're fine. That you don't need more. That being calm is enough. And people believe you. They believe you're satisfied with less. That you don't want more attention. More recognition. More priority. So they don't give it to you. They give it to people who ask for it. Who demand it. Who make it clear that not getting it is unacceptable. And you watch this happen. You watch people get more by asking for less than you deserve. And you stay quiet. Because asking would seem needy. Demanding would seem difficult. Making noise would seem uncalm. And you can't be uncalm. Because calm is your identity. It's what makes you good. What makes you reliable. What makes you acceptable. And if you're not calm, then what are you? So you stay calm. And you stay passed over. And the resentment grows. Not loud. Quiet. Internal. A low, steady hum of frustration that you don't express. That you don't let show. Because showing it would be uncalm. And you can't afford to be uncalm. Even when being calm is costing you everything you want. Even when being calm is the reason you're not getting it. You stay calm. And you stay invisible. And you tell yourself it's their fault. That they should notice. That they should value you without you having to make them. But they don't. And they won't. Not because they're bad. Because you're not making them. You're making it easy not to. You're staying calm. And calm people don't get priority. They get what's left over.
Chapter 6. The Comfort Trap.
Calm feels safe. It feels like the absence of danger, the absence of conflict, the absence of risk. And safety feels good. It feels stable, predictable, controllable. But safety is not the same as power. And the pursuit of safety will cost you power. Every time. Because power requires risk. It requires the willingness to disrupt, to create friction, to make people uncomfortable. And calm people don't do that. They avoid it. They smooth it over. They choose comfort over confrontation, safety over assertion. And they call this wisdom. They call this choosing your battles. They call this being mature enough not to need to win. But it's not maturity. It's avoidance. And avoidance is not neutral. It's not just the absence of conflict. It's the absence of presence, the absence of influence, the absence of you. Because when you avoid discomfort, you also avoid impact. When you avoid conflict, you also avoid change. When you prioritize calm, you also sacrifice power. And you don't realize this at first. Because calm feels like strength. It feels like you're above the chaos. Like you're choosing peace while others are choosing drama. But you're not choosing peace. You're choosing comfort. And comfort is a trap. Not because comfort is bad. Because comfort becomes addictive. It becomes the thing you optimize for. The thing you protect. The thing you're unwilling to sacrifice, even when sacrificing it would give you what you actually want. And what you actually want is not comfort. It's respect, influence, priority. But those things require discomfort. They require you to create tension, to push back, to make demands, to refuse to accept less. And you can't do that. Not because you don't want those things. Because you want comfort more. You want the feeling of safety that comes from not disrupting, from not creating problems, from being easy. And easy people are comfortable. For everyone else. Not for themselves. Picture this. You're at work. Your workload has doubled. Not because you took on new projects. Because other people's work is being funneled to you. And no one asked if you could handle it. They just assumed you could. Because you always do. Because you never say no. Because you're calm. And calm people don't push back. They don't create problems. They absorb. So you absorb. You take on the extra work. You stay late. You adjust. And you tell yourself this is temporary. That it's just a busy season. That it will balance out eventually. But it doesn't. Because you've signaled that you can handle it. That you don't need help. That you're fine. And people believe you. So they keep adding. And you keep taking. And the resentment builds. But you don't express it. Because expressing it would be uncomfortable. It would create tension. It would make you difficult. So you stay comfortable. For them. And you stay overworked. For you. And this pattern repeats. Not just at work. Everywhere. In relationships, you're the person who adjusts. Who compromises. Who bends to accommodate. And you tell yourself this is love. This is partnership. This is what mature people do. But it's not maturity. It's comfort seeking. It's the prioritization of smooth over right. Of easy over equal. Of calm over actually getting what you need. And what you need is not calm. It's reciprocity. It's balance. It's someone who adjusts to you as much as you adjust to them. But you don't ask for that. Because asking would create discomfort. It would create conflict. It would risk the relationship. So you don't risk it. You stay comfortable. You stay calm. And you stay alone in your needs. Alone in your wants. Alone in the growing awareness that being easy has made you easy to deprioritize. And you don't know how to change this. Because changing it would require doing the thing you've spent your entire life avoiding. Discomfort. You would have to make people uncomfortable. You would have to create friction. You would have to risk being seen as difficult, demanding, too much. And the fear of that is bigger than the resentment of staying where you are. So you stay comfortable. You stay calm. And you tell yourself this is strength. But it's not strength. It's imprisonment. Self-imposed imprisonment in a life that doesn't actually fit you. That doesn't actually honor you. That doesn't actually give you what you want. But it's comfortable. It's familiar. It's safe. And safety feels better than the unknown. Better than the risk of disrupting everything. Better than the possibility that if you stop being calm, people might leave. So you don't stop. You keep being calm. You keep being easy. You keep choosing comfort over change. And comfort slowly destroys you. Not loudly, quietly, in the slow erosion of respect, in the gradual disappearance of priority, in the growing sense that you're in your life, but not driving it, that you're present, but not central, That you're calm, but not powerful. And power is what you actually want, not comfort. But you've been trading power for comfort for so long that you don't know how to stop. You don't know how to choose discomfort, how to create friction, how to make demands, how to stop being easy. Because easy is safe. Easy is predictable. Easy is calm. And calm is all you know. It's all you've practiced. It's all you've been rewarded for. So you keep doing it, even when it's not working, even when it's costing you, even when you know that being calm is the reason you're being passed over, deprioritized, forgotten. You keep being calm because calm is comfortable for everyone else. And you've become addicted to making everyone else comfortable, even when it makes you powerless, even when it makes you invisible, even when it makes you irrelevant. You stay calm, you stay comfortable, and you stay stuck, not in a place, in a pattern of choosing safety over power, comfort over presence, calm over impact. And the pattern is tightening, not loosening, because every time you choose calm, you reinforce it. You make it stronger. You make it more automatic. You make it harder to access anything else. And you're running out of options, not because you don't have them, because you've trained yourself not to use them. You've eliminated every response that isn't calm, every option that isn't comfortable, every possibility that isn't safe. And now you're trapped in comfort, in calm, in the absence of everything you actually want. And you don't know how to get out, because getting out would require the one thing you've spent your life avoiding: risk. The risk of being seen as difficult, the risk of losing approval, the risk of discovering that if you're not calm, people won't want you. And that risk feels too big, too dangerous, too much. So you stay small, you stay safe, you stay calm, and you watch your life happen around you, without you.
Part 3, The Fracture. Chapter 7, Calm is not maturity.
You have been told your entire life that calm is maturity, that the ability to stay composed is what separates adults from children, that emotional control is growth, that restraint is strength. And you believed it. You built your identity around it. You became the person who does not react, who rises above, who takes the high road. And this felt like power. It felt like you had developed something most people had not: the ability to not be controlled by emotion, to not be dragged into conflict, to be above it all. But this is not maturity. This is avoidance dressed up as virtue. Because maturity is not the absence of emotion. It is the capacity to feel emotion fully and still make intentional choices. It is access, not elimination. And you do not have access. You have suppression. You have the immediate shutdown of any feeling that might create discomfort. And you call this maturity because maturity sounds better than what it actually is. Fear. Fear of what you might feel if you let yourself. Fear of what you might do if you felt it fully. Fear of who you might become if you stopped being calm. So you stay calm. And you call it growth. You call it being the bigger person. You call it emotional intelligence. But it is not intelligence. It is the elimination of information. Because emotions are information. They tell you what matters, what you need, what is wrong. And when you suppress them, you are not rising above them. You are refusing to listen to them. You are cutting yourself off from the data you need to make real decisions. And this does not make you mature. It makes you disconnected. Disconnected from yourself, from what you actually feel, from what you actually need. And you do not realize this is happening. Because disconnection feels like calm. It feels like peace. It feels like you have transcended the chaos that controls other people. But you have not transcended anything. You have just stopped feeling it. Picture this. Someone does something that hurts you. Not accidentally. Deliberately. They say something cruel. Or they break a promise. Or they prioritize someone else in a way that makes it clear you do not matter as much as you thought. And you feel something immediate. Sharp. Hot. The impulse to respond. To defend yourself. To make them understand what they did. But you do not. You pause. You take a breath. You remind yourself that reacting would make it worse. That saying something would seem petty. That the mature thing to do is let it go. So you do. You let it go. You stay calm. You do not bring it up. You do not make it a problem. And you tell yourself this is maturity. This is being the bigger person. This is choosing not to engage. But it is not a choice. It is a reflex. A trained response. The automatic suppression of anything that might create conflict. And you call this maturity because you do not want to admit what it actually is. Inability. Inability to access your own response. Inability to express what you feel. Inability to assert what you need. And this inability is not strength. It is limitation. It is the narrowing of your range down to one option: calm. And calm is not always the right option. Sometimes the right option is anger. Clear, direct, unapologetic anger. Not rage, not explosion, just the honest expression of what is not acceptable. But you cannot do that. Not because you choose not to, because you do not know how, because anger has been eliminated from your range, because you have been taught that anger is immature. That mature people do not get angry. That mature people stay calm. And you believed it. So you eliminated anger. You trained it out of yourself. You replaced it with calm. And now when someone crosses a boundary, you do not get angry. You get calm. And calm does not set boundaries. Calm absorbs. Calm accommodates. Calm lets things go. And you keep letting things go until there is nothing left to let go of. Until you are so disconnected from your own needs that you do not even know what they are anymore. Because needs require feeling. They require the emotional information that tells you something is wrong. Something needs to change. Something is not acceptable. And you do not have access to that information. You have suppressed it. In the name of maturity. In the name of being the bigger person. In the name of calm. And this is where the story breaks. Because everything you thought was strength is actually weakness. Everything you thought was maturity is actually avoidance. Everything you thought was growth is actually stagnation. You have not grown. You have shrunk. You have eliminated parts of yourself. Important parts. The parts that push back. The parts that assert. The parts that say no. And without those parts, you are not mature. You are incomplete. You are a person who can only do one thing: stay calm. And staying calm is not enough. It is not enough to navigate conflict. It is not enough to set boundaries. It is not enough to protect yourself. It is not enough to be fully human. Because being fully human requires access to the full range. Joy and anger, peace and disruption, calm and force. And you do not have that. You have calm. Only calm. And calm is killing you. Slowly, quietly, in the accumulation of unexpressed needs, undefended boundaries, unacknowledged pain. You stay calm and you absorb it all. And you tell yourself this is maturity. But it is not maturity. It is self-abandonment. It is the prioritization of other people's comfort over your own needs. It is the belief that being easy is the same as being good. And it is not. Being easy is just being easy. And easy people do not get what they need. They get what is left over. They get what others are willing to give without being asked. And that is never enough. It will never be enough. Because real relationships require assertion. Real respect requires boundaries. Real presence requires the willingness to be uncomfortable, to make others uncomfortable, to stop being the bigger person. And you do not know how to do that, because you have been trained to believe that being the bigger person is always right, that taking the high road is always better, that staying calm is always mature. But it is not always right. Sometimes taking the high road means letting people walk all over you. Sometimes being the bigger person means making yourself smaller. Sometimes staying calm means abandoning yourself. And you have been abandoning yourself for years. In the name of maturity. In the name of growth. In the name of calm. And you are starting to see it now. You are starting to see that what you thought was strength is actually weakness. That what you thought was maturity is actually fear. That what you thought was calm is actually suppression. And this recognition is destabilizing. Because if calm is not maturity, then what is? If suppression is not strength, then what is? If being the bigger person is not right, then what is? And you do not have answers. You just have the recognition that everything you built yourself around is not what you thought it was. And you do not know what to do with that. You do not know how to be if you are not calm. You do not know who you are if you are not the person who rises above, who takes the high road, who stays composed. And this not knowing is terrifying, because it means you do not know yourself. You thought you did. You thought calm was who you were. But calm was just what you did, what you trained yourself to do, what you performed to survive. And now that you see it for what it is, you cannot unsee it. You cannot go back to believing that suppression is strength, that avoidance is maturity, that calm is power. But you also do not know what to replace it with. You just know that what you have been doing is not working, and you are suspended between the old story and no story at all, between the identity you built and the absence of identity, between calm as virtue and calm as cage. And there is no ground here, no stability, just the recognition that you do not know what maturity actually is. You just know what it is not.
Chapter 8, Accessing Power Without Losing Control.
You are afraid of what happens if you stop suppressing. Afraid that if you let yourself feel anger, you will explode. That if you let yourself feel hurt, you will fall apart. That if you stop being calm, you will become chaos. And this fear is what keeps you suppressing. Because suppression feels like control. It feels like you are managing something dangerous. Something that would destroy everything if you let it out. But this is not true. Feeling is not the same as acting. Anger is not the same as rage. Access is not the same as explosion. You can feel fully without losing control. You can access anger without becoming violent. You can feel hurt without collapsing. You can stop suppressing without becoming destructive. But you do not believe this, because you have never tried. You have spent your entire life suppressing before the feeling fully arrives, shutting it down before you know what it is, replacing it with calm before you experience it. So you do not know what would happen if you let yourself feel. You just assume it would be bad, dangerous, uncontrollable. And this assumption keeps you trapped. Trapped in suppression. Trapped in calm. Trapped in the belief that the only way to stay safe is to not feel. But this is not safety. This is imprisonment. And the prison is getting smaller. Because suppression does not just suppress one thing. It suppresses everything. The more you suppress anger, the more you suppress joy. The more you suppress hurt, the more you suppress connection. The more you suppress feeling, the more you become numb. And numbness is not calm. Numbness is absence. The absence of yourself. And you are starting to feel this absence. Starting to notice that you are present, but not alive. There but not engaged. Calm but not okay. And this is where the fear becomes louder. Because if you are not okay, then something needs to change. And change means feeling. It means accessing the emotions you have been suppressing. It means letting yourself be angry. Letting yourself be hurt. Letting yourself feel fully. And you do not know if you can do that without losing control. Without becoming the thing you have been trying not to be. Too much. Too emotional. Too unstable. But you are already too much of something. Too suppressed. Too calm. Too numb. And staying this way is not working. So you have to try something different. You have to access what you have been suppressing. Not all at once. Not recklessly. But intentionally. Carefully. You have to let yourself feel anger without immediately acting on it. Let yourself feel hurt without immediately protecting against it. Let yourself feel fully without immediately returning to calm. And this is terrifying, because it means sitting with discomfort, with feeling, with the possibility that what you feel might be too big, might be too much, might be more than you can handle. But it is not more than you can handle. It just feels that way, because you have been avoiding it for so long that it has accumulated, built up, become this massive thing that seems unmanageable. But it is not unmanageable. It is just unfamiliar. And unfamiliar feels dangerous. Picture this. Someone dismisses you. In a meeting. In a conversation. In a moment that matters. And you feel anger. Real anger. Not irritation. Not frustration. Anger. And instead of suppressing it, you let it stay. You feel it. Fully. The heat of it. The sharpness of it. The way it wants to move. Wants to be expressed. And you do not express it. Not yet. You just feel it. You sit with it. You let it be there without shutting it down. And something happens. The anger does not explode. It does not take over. It does not make you lose control. It just is. Present. Clear. Informing you. Telling you that what just happened is not acceptable. That you need to address it. That staying silent is not an option. And you listen. Not to the impulse to react immediately. To the information. The clarity. The certainty that you need to say something. And you do. Not in the moment. But later. When you have decided what to say. How to say it. When to say it. And you say it clearly. Directly. Without apology. Not because you are out of control. Because you are in control. Real control. Not suppression. The ability to feel fully and still choose your response. To access anger and use it. Not be used by it. And this is power. Not calm. Power. The power that comes from having access to the full range. From being able to feel anger without becoming rage. From being able to feel hurt without becoming helpless. From being able to feel fully and still make intentional choices. This is what you have been avoiding. Not because it is dangerous, because it is unfamiliar, because you do not know how to do it, because you have been trained to believe that feeling is the same as losing control. But it is not. Feeling is information. Acting is choice. And you can have both. You can feel everything and still choose nothing. Or you can feel everything and choose precisely. But you cannot choose at all if you do not feel. Because without feeling, you do not know what matters. What is wrong? What needs to change? You just stay calm. And calm does not change anything. Calm accepts. Calm accommodates. Calm stays the same. And staying the same is killing you. So you have to access. You have to feel. You have to let yourself be angry, be hurt, be uncomfortable. And you have to trust that you will not lose control. That feeling fully does not mean acting recklessly. That access is not explosion. And this trust is hard. Because you do not have evidence. You have only ever suppressed. So you do not know what happens if you do not. You just assume it will be bad. But assumptions are not evidence. And you cannot live your entire life based on assumptions about what might happen if you feel. You have to find out. You have to try. You have to access what you have been suppressing and see what happens. And what happens is not what you expect. What happens is clarity, presence, power, not chaos, not explosion, not loss of control, just the opposite. Real control, the kind that comes from having options, from being able to access the full range and choose from it, from feeling everything and using what serves you. This is what most people are afraid of, not the feeling itself, the discovery that they have been wrong. That suppression is not strength. That calm is not power. That everything they built themselves around is not what they thought it was. And this discovery destabilizes everything. Because if calm is not the answer, then what is? If suppression is not control, then what is? If avoiding feeling is not maturity, then what is? And the answer is access. But access is uncomfortable. Access requires feeling things you do not want to feel, sitting with things you do not want to sit with, being present with discomfort instead of suppressing it. And most people will not do this. They will retreat. Back to calm. Back to suppression. Back to the familiar prison. Because the prison is uncomfortable but predictable. And predictable feels safer than unknown. Even when unknown is actually freedom. And you are here now. At the edge of unknown. At the place where you have to decide whether to access or retreat. Whether to feel or suppress. Whether to stay in the prison or step into the discomfort of power. And you do not know which you will choose. You just know you cannot stay here. Suspended between suppression and access. Between calm and power. Between the old identity and no identity at all. Something has to shift. And you do not know what it will be.
Chapter 9. The Risk of Presence.
Being present is not safe. This is what you are realizing now. Not theoretically. Practically. In the moments when you stop suppressing. When you let yourself feel. When you take up space. And people notice. Not always positively. Sometimes with resistance. With discomfort. With the clear signal that they prefer you the other way. Calm. Quiet. Easy. And this resistance is real. It is not imagined. It is not your insecurity. It is the actual social cost of being present. Of taking up space. Of having needs. Of not being calm. And this cost is what you have been avoiding your entire life. Because avoiding it felt like survival. Like the only way to stay connected. To stay included. To stay safe. But you are starting to see that safety is not the same as connection. That being kept is not the same as being wanted. That staying small does not protect you. It erases you. And erasure has its own cost. A cost you have been paying quietly for years. In invisibility. In irrelevance. In the growing sense that you are in your life, but not living it. And now you are faced with a choice. Stay small and stay safe. Or be present and risk rejection. And there is no good option here. Both come with cost. Staying small costs you yourself. Being present costs you approval. And you do not know which cost you can afford. Picture this. You are with people you care about. Family. Friends. People whose presence in your life feels necessary. And something happens. Something small. A comment. A decision made without you. A moment where you are overlooked. And you feel it. Not anger exactly. Hurt. The recognition that you do not matter as much as you thought. That your presence is optional. That you are background. And instead of suppressing this, you let yourself feel it. You sit with it. And then you say something. Not loudly. Not aggressively. Just clearly. You name what happened. You express that it hurt. You make yourself visible. And the room shifts. Not toward you. Away from you. People get uncomfortable. They deflect. They minimize. They tell you it is not that serious. That you are being too sensitive. That you are overreacting. And you are not overreacting. You are just reacting. For the first time. Expressing what you feel instead of suppressing it. And they do not like it. Because they are used to you being calm. Being easy. Not creating problems. And now you are creating a problem. Not by being unreasonable. By being present. By having needs. By not disappearing. And this makes them uncomfortable. And their discomfort becomes pressure. Pressure for you to go back to being calm. To let it go. To stop making it a problem. And you feel this pressure. You feel the pull to return to what is familiar. To suppress. To smooth it over. To be easy again. Because being easy feels safer than this. Safer than the tension. Safer than the possibility that they will not like you anymore. That they will leave. That you will be alone. And this possibility is terrifying. Because aloneness is what you have been avoiding your entire life. It is why you learn to be calm. Why you learn to suppress. Why you learn to make yourself small. To stay connected. To not be left. And now being present is threatening that connection. Is creating the possibility of loss. And you do not know if you can handle that. If you can handle being visible and being rejected. Being present and being alone. So you retreat. Not all the way, but enough. You soften. You minimize. You tell them it is fine. That you are fine. That you were just having a moment. And the tension releases. They relax. They move on. And you are left with the recognition that being present is expensive. That visibility comes with risk. That taking up space means some people will push back. And you do not know if you can afford that risk. If you can afford to lose people. To be disliked. To be alone. Because aloneness feels like death. Not physical death. Social death. The death of connection. Of belonging. Of matching to anyone. And this fear is bigger than any other fear. Bigger than the fear of staying small. Bigger than the fear of being invisible. Because invisibility at least keeps you connected. At least keeps you included. At least keeps you not alone. And aloneness is the thing you cannot tolerate. The thing you will do anything to avoid. Including erasing yourself. Including staying calm. Including suppressing everything you feel to keep people comfortable. Because their comfort feels like your safety. And their discomfort feels like your danger. And you are caught. Caught between the need to be present and the fear of being alone. Caught between the recognition that calm is killing you and the terror that presence will cost you everything. And there is no resolution here. No answer. No way forward that does not require loss. Either you lose yourself by staying small, or you lose others by being present. And both losses are real. Both matter. Both hurt. And you do not know which one you can survive. You just know you are here. At the edge. At the place where you have to decide. And the decision is impossible. Because either way you lose something. Either way there is cost. Either way there is pain. And you cannot avoid it. You cannot stay suspended here. Between presence and suppression. Between power and safety. Between yourself and connection. Something has to break. And you do not know what it will be. You just know it is breaking. Already. Now. In the recognition that you cannot have both. That you cannot be fully present and fully safe. That power and comfort do not coexist. That you have to choose. And the choice terrifies you. Because choosing presence means accepting risk. Means accepting that some people will leave. That some connections will end. That you might be alone. And aloneness is what you have spent your entire life trying to avoid. But staying calm means accepting erasure. Means accepting invisibility. Means accepting that you will never be fully alive. And you do not know which is worse. Being alone. Or being erased. And you are suspended between them. With no ground. No safety. No answer. Just the recognition that everything you thought was protecting you was actually destroying you. And everything that might save you feels like it will kill you. And you do not know what to do. You do not know how to move forward. You do not know who you are anymore. You just know you are not calm. Not the way you were. Not the way they want you to be. And you do not know what you are instead.
Part 4, Choosing Calm, Not Hiding in It. Chapter 10, When Calm Becomes a Tool.
There is a difference between choosing calm and defaulting to it. The difference is not visible from the outside. It looks the same, sounds the same, presents the same, but internally it is completely different. And the difference changes everything. Default calm is automatic. It is what happens when you can't access anything else. When your system shuts down every other option before you know you had them. When calm is the only response available. Not because it's appropriate, because it's all you've trained yourself to do. This is not power. This is limitation. Chosen calm is different. It is what happens when you feel the full range of possible responses. When you have access to anger, to volume, to disruption, and you choose not to use them. Not because you can't, because they don't serve the moment. Because calm is the more effective strategy. This is power. This is choice. And choice changes the quality of calm entirely. Default calm feels like suppression, like something is being held down, contained, managed. It feels tight, exhausting, like effort disguised as ease. Chosen calm feels like space, like there is room inside you, like you are not fighting yourself to stay still. You are still because still is what you decided, and you could decide differently at any moment. This possibility is what makes it power, not the calm itself. The fact that calm is one option among many, that you are not trapped in it, that you are using it. Picture this. Someone challenges you, in front of others, not subtly, directly. They question your competence, your judgment, your authority, and you feel something immediate. Heat, sharpness, the impulse to respond with force, to match their energy, to push back harder than they pushed. But you don't. Not because you can't. Not because the response gets shut down before it forms. But because you let yourself feel it fully. You let the anger arrive. You let it move through you. And then you decide. You decide that responding with anger would give them what they want. Would make this about emotion instead of fact. Would shift the focus from their error to your reaction. So you choose calm. Not as suppression. As strategy. You respond evenly, clearly, with precision. And the precision is more devastating than anger would have been. Because it doesn't give them anything to deflect. No emotion to dismiss. No reaction to point to. Just facts. Delivered calmly. Not because you had to be calm. Because calm was the most effective tool. And this is different. Not just an outcome. In experience, default calm leaves residue. Tension. Exhaustion. The sense that you had to fight yourself to stay composed. Chosen calm leaves space. Clarity. The sense that you used yourself well. That you had options, and you selected the right one. Not the only one. The right one. And this distinction matters. Because power is not about always being calm. It is about having the capacity to be uncalm. And choosing not to use it. This is what makes calm powerful. Not the calm itself. The restraint. The choice. The visible decision not to deploy force even though force is available. People feel this. They don't consciously recognize it. But they feel it. They feel the difference between someone who is calm because they have to be, and someone who is calm because they chose to be. The first person feels manageable, predictable, safe. The second person feels dangerous. Not because they are aggressive, because they are contained. And containment implies something being held back. Something that could be released. Something you don't want released. This is presence. Not loudness. Not aggression. Presence. The sense that someone is choosing their response. That they are not reacting. They are deciding. And their decision could change. At any moment. This makes people pay attention. Not because you demanded it. Because you created the sense that not paying attention would be unwise. And you did this through restraint. Through visible control. Through calm that feels like choice instead of suppression. This is what changes the dynamic. Not becoming louder. Not becoming more aggressive. Not abandoning calm. Reclaiming it. Turning it from a cage into a tool. From a default into an option. From something that happens to you into something you do. And this shift is internal before it is external. It starts with recognizing that you have been using calm to avoid, to hide, to stay small. And it continues with the decision to stop. Not to stop being calm, to stop hiding in it, to stop using it as protection, to start using it as strategy. This requires access to the things you have been suppressing: anger, disruption, volume. Not so you use them constantly, so you know they are available. So calm becomes a choice instead of the only option. And this is uncomfortable, because accessing anger means feeling anger, means allowing it to arrive without immediately shutting it down, means sitting with the discomfort of feeling something you have been trained to eliminate. But the discomfort is temporary. The power is not. Because once you know you can access anger, once you know you can be loud, once you know you can disrupt, you no longer need to. Not constantly. Because the possibility of disruption is itself disruptive. The possibility of anger is itself powerful. The possibility of not being calm is what makes calm effective. People do not respond to calm because calm is inherently powerful. They respond to calm when calm feels like restraint, when it feels like something is being held back, when it feels like a choice instead of a default. And you cannot create that feeling by suppressing. You can only create it by accessing, by knowing what you are choosing not to do, by having the full range and selecting from it. This is what shifts calm from weakness to power. Not the behavior, the foundation beneath it, the access, the choice, the recognition that calm is one option, not the only option. And this changes everything, not all at once, but steadily, irreversibly. Because once you know calm is a choice, once you feel the difference between chosen calm and default calm, you cannot go back. You cannot pretend you don't have options. You cannot hide in calm anymore. You can only use it. And using it means accepting responsibility for it. Means recognizing that when you are calm it is because you decided to be. Not because you had to be. Not because you couldn't access anything else. Because calm was the right tool. And you chose it. This is power. Not the absence of reaction. The presence of choice.
Chapter 11. Presence changes the room.
You walk into a room differently now. Not louder. Not more aggressive. Just different. There is something in the way you hold yourself. In the way you take up space without apologizing for it. In the way you make eye contact and don't look away first. And people notice. Not consciously, but they notice. They respond differently. They make room. They pay attention. They wait to hear what you have to say instead of talking over you. And you did not ask for this. You did not demand it. You did not perform it. It just happened. Because presence is not performance. It is alignment. It is what happens when your external behavior matches your internal state. When you are not suppressing, not performing, not managing, just present, fully, without apology, without shrinking. And this creates a shift in the room. Not because you took something from anyone. Because you stopped giving something away. You stopped giving away your space, your voice, your right to be here as much as anyone else. And when you stop giving that away, people stop taking it. Not because they decided to, because you stopped offering it. Picture this. You are in a meeting, the kind of meeting where you used to stay quiet, where you used to wait for the right moment to speak, where you used to measure whether what you had to say was important enough to interrupt. But you are not measuring anymore. You have something to say, and you say it. Not loudly, not over someone, but clearly, with the assumption that what you have to say matters. And people stop. They turn. They listen. Not because you demanded it. Because you did not ask for permission. You did not apologize for speaking. You did not soften your statement with qualifiers. You just spoke. And the room responded. Because presence commands response. Not through force. Through certainty. Through the absence of doubt. Through the signal that you belong here. That your voice belongs here. That you are not asking to be included. You are included. And this changes the dynamic. Not just with others. With yourself. Because when you speak without apologizing, when you take up space without shrinking, when you make eye contact without looking away, you are practicing something. Not confidence. Presence. And presence is not the same as confidence. Confidence is a feeling. Presence is a decision. A decision to occupy your own life fully. To take up the space you are already in. To stop making yourself smaller to make others more comfortable. And this decision changes how people see you. But more importantly, it changes how you see yourself. You stop seeing yourself as someone who needs permission, who needs approval, who needs to earn the right to be here. You start seeing yourself as someone who is already here, who already belongs, who already has the right to speak, to take up space, to be present. And people feel this. They feel the shift. They feel the difference between someone who is asking to be included and someone who is simply present. The first person feels tentative, uncertain, easy to dismiss. The second person feels solid, grounded, difficult to ignore. And you are becoming the second person, not by trying harder, by stopping trying, by stopping the constant internal negotiation about whether you are allowed to be here, whether you are allowed to speak, whether you are allowed to take up space. You are allowed, not because someone gave you permission, because permission is not required. You are already here, and being here is enough. This is what presence is, not proving yourself, just being yourself, fully, without apology, without suppression, without the constant management of how you are perceived. And when you stop managing how you are perceived, something changes. People start perceiving you differently, not because you changed who you are, because you stopped hiding who you are. You stopped performing calm. You stopped performing easy. You stopped performing acceptable. And you started just being present, clear, unapologetic. And this creates authority, not the kind of authority that comes from title, not the kind that comes from position, the kind that comes from presence, from occupying your space fully, from speaking with the assumption that your words matter, from existing without apology. And people respond to this authority. They respond by listening, by making room, by treating you differently, not because you demanded it, because you stopped accepting less. You stopped accepting being talked over. You stopped accepting being dismissed. You stopped accepting being invisible. And when you stopped accepting it, people stopped doing it. Not all at once, not perfectly, but noticeably, because presence shifts the room. It shifts what is possible, what is acceptable, what people can get away with. And when your presence is clear, people cannot get away with dismissing you. Not easily, not without effort, not without it being obvious what they are doing. And most people will not do that. Most people will simply adjust. They will make room. They will listen. They will respond. Not because you forced them, because you stopped making it easy not to. You stopped being so calm that you disappeared, so easy that you could be ignored, so accommodating that you could be deprioritized. You became present, and presence cannot be ignored. It can be resisted. It can be challenged, but it cannot be ignored, because presence takes up space, real space, not physical space, psychological space, the kind of space that makes people aware of you, that makes them consider you, that makes them think twice before dismissing you. And this is power, not loud power, not aggressive power, quiet power, steady power, the kind of power that does not need to prove itself, because it is simply present, and presence is proof enough.
Chapter 12. Responsibility replaces safety.
You cannot have power and safety at the same time. This is what you are learning now, not theoretically, practically, in the moments when you choose to be present instead of comfortable, when you choose to speak instead of staying quiet, when you choose to take up space instead of shrinking. Each of those choices costs you something. It costs you the feeling of safety, the feeling that you are not at risk, the feeling that people will like you, will approve of you, will keep you. And this feeling is what you have been chasing your entire life. Safety, the sense that you are not in danger, that you will not be rejected, that you will not be alone. But safety is not the same as power, and the pursuit of safety has kept you powerless. Because safety requires smallness. It requires not disrupting, not demanding, not taking up too much space. It requires making yourself easy, acceptable, calm. And calm kept you safe, but it also kept you invisible, powerless, irrelevant. And now you are making a different choice. You are choosing power, not safety. And power comes with responsibility. The responsibility of being seen, of being present, of occupying space that other people might have wanted, of speaking when your voice might not be welcome, of existing fully even when it makes others uncomfortable. This is not comfortable. This is not safe. This is exposure. And exposure feels dangerous. Because it is dangerous. Not physically, socially, relationally. There is real risk in being visible, in being present, in taking up space. The risk that people will not like it, will not like you, will respond with resistance, with rejection, with the withdrawal of approval. And this risk is real. It is not imagined. Some people will not like the shift. They will not like that you are no longer easy, no longer predictable, no longer calm in the way they are used to. And they will push back, not always openly, sometimes subtly, with distance, with coldness, with the implication that you have changed, that you are not who you used to be. And they are right. You are not who you used to be. You used to be safe, comfortable, easy, and now you are present. And presence is not easy. It is not comfortable. It is not safe. It is real. And real is what you have been avoiding. Because real comes with consequences, with responsibility, with the recognition that when you take up space, you are taking it from someone. When you speak, you are being heard instead of someone else. When you assert, you are creating friction. And friction has cost. But so does its absence. The cost of not taking up space is invisibility. The cost of not speaking is irrelevance. The cost of not asserting is powerlessness. And you have been paying that cost your entire life. Quietly, calmly, without complaint. And now you are choosing differently. You are choosing to pay the other cost. The cost of being seen. The cost of being present. The cost of being responsible for your own visibility, your own voice, your own power. And this cost feels heavier. Not because it is heavier, because you are carrying it consciously. You are aware of it. You are choosing it. And choice makes everything feel heavier. Because you cannot blame anyone else anymore. You cannot say you had no choice. You cannot say you were trapped. You are not trapped. You are choosing. And choosing means accepting responsibility. For the outcomes. For the reactions. For the consequences of being present. And the consequences are not always good. Some people will leave. Some opportunities will close. Some relationships will end. Not because you did something wrong. Because you stopped doing something that kept them comfortable. You stopped being easy. And easy people are what some people want. They want someone who does not push back. Who does not take up space. Who does not require accommodation. And you are no longer that person. So they leave. And this hurts. Not because you were wrong. Because loss hurts. Even when it is necessary. Even when it is right. Even when staying would have cost you more. Loss still hurts. And you feel it. Fully. Without suppressing. Without telling yourself it does not matter. It matters. And you let it matter. You let yourself feel the cost. The weight. The responsibility of having chosen this. And this is different. This is not the old calm. The calm that suppressed everything. That avoided everything. That protected you from feeling. This is presence. Presence with the discomfort. Presence with the loss. Presence with the recognition that power is not comfortable. That visibility is not safe. That being fully yourself comes with cost. And you are paying it. Not because you have to. Because you choose to. Because the alternative is worse. The alternative is disappearing. Is staying small. Is being calm in the way that erases you. And you will not do that anymore. Not because you are brave. Because you are done. Done with being easy. Done with being invisible. Done with trading yourself for comfort. You are choosing differently now. And the choice is not easy. But it is yours. Fully. Consciously. Irrevocably. You are not calm because you have to be. You are calm when you choose to be. And the rest of the time you are present. Visible. Powerful. And responsible for all of it. For the space you take up. For the voice you use. For the presence you occupy. This is not safety. This is power. And power does not apologize. It does not shrink. It does not hide. It simply is. And so are you. You are not calm. You were hiding. And now you are not hiding anymore. Not because you became loud. Because you became present. And presence does not need to be loud. It just needs to be real. You are real now. Fully. Without apology. Without suppression. Without the performance of calm. And this will cost you. It already has. But it will also give you something you have never had. Yourself. Not the version that was acceptable. The version that is true. And true is not always calm. True is present. And presence is all you have. It is enough.